The crackling sound of the taser and my pregnant wife's scream will haunt me forever. One moment, my 8 months pregnant Emily was standing on our lawn, asking Linda Harper, our power-hungry HOA president, to leave our property. The next, she was on the ground, clutching her belly, eyes wide with pain and fear. "The baby," she gasped. "David, the baby." Linda, our HOA tyrant, stood over her, taser in hand, already spinning her story. She attacked me. I had to defend myself. I knelt beside Emily, my police commander's badge gleaming on my belt, lights from my unmarked cruiser flashing across our pristine lawn. The look on Linda's face when she realized who I was, who she'd just attacked, almost made the nightmare worth it. Almost. "Linda Harper," I said calmly, glancing at the security camera under our eaves, "you just assaulted a pregnant woman with an illegal taser, and it's all on video." Fear flashed across her face as I continued, "You just tossed the wife of the police commander who controls every officer in this city. You messed with the wrong family." 3 weeks earlier, Emily and I had moved into Oakwood Heights, drawn by its immaculate appearance and the perfect nursery with bay windows in the charming colonial on Cedar Drive. As the newly appointed commander of Metro Police, I'd been working 16-hour days rooting out corruption, barely home to help with the move. "They seem pretty strict with their rules," Emily mentioned, showing me an HOA regulation binder thicker than my police academy manuals. We hadn't even unpacked before the first violation notice appeared, a bright yellow sheet taped to our door about our garbage cans being visible from the street. Emily had hidden them behind bushes, but apparently they needed to be completely invisible. "It's fine," I assured her, "we're still learning." The second notice came 3 days later. Our welcome mat was an unapproved decoration. The third arrived the next morning. Our American flag on the porch was 2 inches larger than regulation size. Emily called me at work, her voice tight with frustration. "David, this is getting ridiculous. I just saw a woman measuring our grass with a ruler." A ruler. That weekend, Emily was planting flowers when a shadow fell over her. "Those aren't approved plants," said a sharp voice. My wife looked up to see a woman in her 50s, wearing designer yoga pants and a neighborhood watch captain badge. "I'm Linda Harper, HOA president," she announced, not bothering to help my very pregnant wife up from her knees. "Those roses aren't on our approved vegetation list. That'll be a $150 fine." When I got home that evening, Emily was in tears. She treated me like I was nothing. The next morning, we found our newly planted roses uprooted and tossed on our porch with another citation. That was enough. I called the HOA management company, only to learn Linda didn't just run the board, she owned the management company that enforced the rules and collected fines. At the station, I asked Officer Martinez to run a background check on Linda. The results raised eyebrows. 3 prior lawsuits from homeowners in other neighborhoods, all settled quietly, with complaints about selective enforcement, excessive fines, and harassment. "She's a professional bully," Martinez said, showing me Linda's social media, where she boasted about upholding standards. The next Friday, Emily insisted on attending the HOA meeting despite my concerns about her stress levels. Linda controlled the room, dismissing complaints and cutting off speakers. When Emily raised her hand to ask about the fines, Linda ignored her. After the third attempt, my wife stood, her pregnant belly prominent. "Excuse me, but we've tried to follow all the guidelines." Linda's voice cut like ice. "Sit down. We don't recognize speakers who aren't approved by the chair." The room fell silent. Emily took a deep breath. "The bylaws, Section 3, state all residents have the right to speak for 2 minutes during open forum." Linda's neck flushed red. "You're out of order. Security, escort this disruptive resident out." 2 men in ill-fitting HOA security uniforms moved toward Emily. That's when I stood, badge visible. "That won't be necessary." The guards hesitated, looking from Linda to me. Linda's eyes narrowed at my badge. Your profession doesn't exempt you from our rules, Commander Reynolds, she said, emphasizing my title, clearly having researched me. On our way out, an elderly neighbor warned us in the parking lot, "Be careful. She doesn't like being challenged." The last family who stood up to her found their car windows smashed. Police never found who did it. The next week brought escalating hostilities. Trash cans mysteriously appeared in our driveway. Anonymous noise complaints were filed when we weren't home. HOA security vehicles drove slowly past at all hours. Emily installed security cameras, sending me footage of Linda personally placing violation notices on our door multiple times daily. I fought back through proper channels, documenting every incident and filing complaints with the county housing authority. Linda must have sensed the pressure, because the next day, our cameras caught her pointing at our house while talking to her security team. That evening, they parked in front of our driveway, blocking Emily's car. When she asked them to move, they claimed they were investigating a complaint. I called my officers, but the security team had moved by the time they arrived. Things came to a head 3 days later. I was at work, leading a major operation to uncover corruption in a specialized unit. My team had just found evidence implicating high-ranking officers in a kickback scheme when my phone buzzed. Emily's name flashed on the screen. "Linda and her security team are measuring our grass again," she said, her voice trembling with anger, not fear. "They're taking pictures of everything. I'm going to ask them to leave." "Stay inside," I urged. "I'll be home in 20 minutes. "No, David, I'm tired of hiding in our own house. I know my rights." Before I could respond, I heard the door open and Emily's voice grew distant as she stepped outside. I kept the line open, rushing to my car, listening as Emily calmly asked Linda to leave our property. Linda's voice came through clearly. "Your grass is 4.2 inches. That's 1.2 inches over regulation. That's a $300 fine. Due immediately." Emily replied that we'd mowed 2 days ago, per their standards. Linda laughed coldly. "Perhaps if you spent less time complaining about the HOA and more time maintaining your property, you wouldn't be in violation." I heard Emily take a deep breath. "Please leave our property now. You're trespassing. Don't you dare tell me what to do in my neighborhood," Linda hissed, her voice dripping with threat. "This is private property," Emily insisted, "and I'm asking you to leave now." I was halfway home, lights flashing on my unmarked vehicle, when I heard Linda shout, "Don't you dare touch me," though security footage later confirmed Emily hadn't moved. Then came the crackling sound, followed by Emily's scream, a sound I'd never heard and never want to hear again. Linda yelled. She attacked me, followed by the thud of Emily falling. I floored the accelerator, heart pounding. 3 minutes. I was 3 minutes away. My tires screeched as I pulled into our street, siren blaring. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered. The scene stopped my heart. Emily on the ground, clutching her stomach, face contorted in pain, while Linda stood over her, holding a police-grade taser. Her 2 security guards looked increasingly uncertain as my cruiser's lights flashed. Years of training kicked in. I rushed to Emily, badge prominent, checking her pulse while calling for an ambulance. "Stay with me, Em," I whispered, cataloging her symptoms with panicked precision. Her eyes locked on mine, filled with fear for our unborn child. "The baby," she gasped again. "David, check the baby." Behind me, Linda was spinning her narrative. She became aggressive and threatening, she announced to the crowd. "As HOA president, I have a duty to maintain order. Your wife clearly has emotional problems, Commander." I turned slowly, fixing her with a look reserved for hardened criminals. Her words died in her throat. "Linda Harper," I said, my voice steady despite the rage inside, "you just assaulted a pregnant woman with an illegal taser, one not authorized for civilian use in this state." I gestured to our security camera. "Your assault, trespassing, and false accusations are recorded in 4K resolution." The color drained from Linda's face. One of her guards stepped back, distancing himself from the unfolding crime scene. I was defending myself, Linda stammered, her confidence crumbling. Lying to a police officer is also a crime, I replied, as approaching sirens filled the air. 3 police cruisers and an ambulance arrived within minutes. Officers Martinez and Lee secured the scene, collecting the taser and sealing it in an evidence bag. Lee, one of my top detectives, took witness statements while Martinez moved the crowd back. Officers Thompson and Clark, I called to 2 trusted officers, secure all video evidence from our home security system and the neighbors. I turned to Linda, whose face now showed real fear, and retrieved Ms. Harper's phone as evidence. I believe she was recording this encounter herself. You can't do that, Linda protested, clutching her phone. Detective Lee stepped forward. Ms. Harper, that device contains evidence of a felony assault. We can seize it under exigent circumstances, or you can surrender it voluntarily. Either way, it's coming with us. Linda's security team suddenly couldn't recall details, their loyalty fading under accessory charges. One, a young man barely out of high school, approached Martinez. I want to cooperate, he said, glancing at Linda. Ms. Harper told us to target the Reynolds house. She said we needed to make an example of them. As paramedics loaded Emily into the ambulance, I leaned close to Linda, my voice calm but sharp. You just tossed the wife of the man who commands every police officer in the city, the man leading a major operation against corruption and abuse of power, the man who spent weeks documenting your harassment, intimidation, and selective enforcement. Linda tried to interrupt, but I pressed on. Every patrol car, every detective, every evidence technician reports to me. They'll ensure this case is handled by the book. Absolutely by the book. Linda's indignation collapsed. You can't. I'm an important person in this community. So is my wife, I replied, and unlike you, she actually helps people. I turned to Lee. Read Ms. Harper her rights and arrest her for assault with a dangerous weapon, trespassing, filing false reports, and operating an unlicensed security company. Lee nodded, producing handcuffs, as I climbed into the ambulance with Emily. As the ambulance doors closed, I caught a final glimpse of Linda Harper, HOA president, neighborhood tyrant, self-proclaimed guardian of property values, being led away in handcuffs, her image shattering before the stunned community she'd terrorized. In the ambulance, I held Emily's hand as paramedics monitored her and our baby's vital signs. The baby's heartbeat is strong, a paramedic assured us, and I felt Emily relax slightly. But we need to get you both to the hospital for a full evaluation. Emily squeezed my hand. Did you see her face? She whispered through the pain when she realized who you were. I nodded, stroking her hair. I did. Worth it? She asked with a faint smile. Nothing's worth seeing you hurt, I said, but watching justice catch up to Linda Harper? That comes close. At the hospital, our fears eased when the doctor confirmed our son was unharmed. Emily had minor injuries, but would recover fully. I stayed by her side, making calls not to pull strings, but to ensure everything was handled properly. Linda spent the night in jail. The investigation expanded as neighbors came forward with stories of harassment and intimidation. County officials discovered Linda had been skimming HOA fees for years, using the funds to finance her lifestyle while targeting residents who challenged her. 3 weeks later, Emily and I attended a community meeting called by the County Housing Authority. The atmosphere was transformed. People spoke freely without fear. Linda's HOA board had resigned, and her management company was under investigation for financial fraud. 6 months later, our son Ethan plays in the backyard of our home in Oakwood Heights. The new HOA board, elected by a true community vote, meets quarterly to address real concerns, not enforce petty rules. The regulations have been slashed from 300 pages to 30, focusing on safety and community well-being. Emily leads the Neighborhood Welcome Committee, delivering baskets to new residents with a note that roses are perfectly welcome. Linda Harper is serving an 18-month sentence for assault, with additional charges pending for fraud and embezzlement. Her reign of terror is over, replaced by a community that values fairness and unity. The fight wasn't easy, but it proved that standing up to bullies, no matter how powerful they seem, can spark real change. From a single front yard in a quiet suburban neighborhood, Emily and I showed Oakwood Heights that justice prevails when good people say, "Enough." And as I watch Ethan giggle under the oak trees, I know every moment of that battle was worth it, for him, for Emily, and for the community we now proudly call home.